Of utmost importance, and they require an urgency about them. So for most of those cases, we mediate them. We bring the parties together and we see how we can resolve these complaints through alternative dispute resolution.
If mediation fails, the matters are referred to the tribunals of the Commission.
So you are the first person to reach on the scene.
Tribunals at the Uganda Human Rights Commission have powers of a court as provided for under the Constitution. The Commission conducts tribunals to make a final determination on whether or not complaints reveal human rights violations.
And that tribunal will summon the parties and will hear them out based on the principle of fair hearing, and both parties will tell their stories and will tell their positions, and the presiding commissioner, who sits in as a judge, makes a decision or determines the case, and as such may award either compensation is the most awarded remedy, or may grant any other legal remedy. It could be a restitution, it could be injunction, or any other legal remedy in law.
If a person is dissatisfied with an order of the Commission, he or she has a right to appeal to the High Court. The services of the Commission are free of charge. For the tribunal, the Commission even pays the victims and their witnesses their transport refund.
And because these services are free, people are comfortable to come and talk to us and lodge their complaints. And we take these complaints forward, and at the end of the day, they receive redress, which they could not have received in for any other institution. So that for us is a plus.
Natulugunyizibwa kuba bankuba ne bambuuza nga bankuba bwe bambuuza ne mbabuulira kyakyatuuka ne banzizaayo kati era bo ne baddamu ne bankuba ate ku luno bankuba bubi nnyo kuba luli bankuba ne ku luno badda mu mabwa ne mala ennaku bbiri nga sitegeera biri ku nsi. Era ntwala omukisa okwebaza Human Rights Commission ennyambye nesobola okunkolera nesobola okulongoosa buli kimu ekyali kikyamye, era nabo we bali baba nga bantulugunya tubagenda kuddayo kukikola. Era Human Rights njebaza erwaniridde eddembe lyange nga nze omuntu owa bulijjo.
Complaints not handled by the Commission. Any matter pending before a court or any matter already determined by a court of law or judicial tribunal. Interstate matters. Any matter relating to the exercise of the prerogative of mercy. Any matter that happened before the coming into force of the 1995 Constitution. Matters of purely civil nature, for example relating to breach of contract. Any violation that is not reported within 5 years from the date of its occurrence, except where the person was prevented from lodging the complaint. The Directorate of Monitoring and Inspections. This directorate is charged with monitoring the state of human rights in the country and reporting on it. Monitoring government's compliance with international treaty obligations on human rights. Uganda has ratified various international human rights treaties. The Commission monitors the government's compliance with the international treaties it has ratified through monitoring the human rights situation in the country. It also monitors the level of enjoyment of civil, political, economic, social, cultural rights, and the rights of vulnerable groups such as women, children, persons with disabilities. This is to determine whether or not Uganda is complying with its obligations under the international treaties it ratified. The Directorate also promotes the human rights-based approach to development. Inspecting places of detention. The Commission inspects places of detention in order to assess the condition of suspects or inmates and makes recommendations thereafter. The Commission inspects police stations, prisons and military detention centers, and its assessments are based on the living conditions of the suspects or inmates, among other things.
We look for things like, okay, do people have food? Do they have water? Where are they sleeping? So you look at those standards, because when someone is taken to a place of detention, the only thing that they have removed from them is the ability to move. But everything else that you need as a human being is supposed to be provided, including things like health.
Furthermore, the assessment is based on the suspects or inmates' access to justice. The Commission makes recommendations for the improvement in the enjoyment of human rights by suspects or detainees in order to ensure Uganda's compliance to human rights obligations.
So generally it's a way of keeping track of what is happening in the community.
Compiling annual human rights reports and periodic reports. The Commission is mandated to submit annual reports to the Parliament of Uganda on the state of human rights and freedoms in the country. The annual report is a documentation of the Commission's interventions in fulfillment of its mandate and an analysis of the human rights situation in the country. The annual report also contains the Commission's recommendations on the improvement of the human rights situation in the country, and the said recommendations are directed at specific actors for implementation. The Parliament of Uganda is supposed to follow up on the implementation of the recommendations made by the Commission in its annual reports.
From our monitoring, we get this information to be able to provide that in those reports to Parliament and generally to the public, for them to know this is what is happening in places of detention, this is what's happening in regard to health, this is what's happening in regard to education in the country.
In the recent past, the Commission has come up with the innovation of the Braille version of its annual reports for people with impaired vision.
And it has helped blind people to understand and read for themselves what the report says and what the work of UHRC has been, which is very important. Instead of relying on other people to read for you, you can read it for yourself.
It actually received a lot of positive reaction from the people, persons with disability, mainly people could not be able to, people who needed to use the Braille version.
The Directorate reviews bills before Parliament to determine their compliance with human rights standards. The Commission communicates its views to the relevant parliamentary committees.
When bills go to Parliament, we're supposed to be able to get them and see if what has been provided is in accordance, in line with our constitution, is in line with what we have agreed at different levels. So for example, the Public Order Management Act, which was a bill, we looked at it and we made recommendations to improve this bill, to say maybe the requirement of having only 4 people meeting cannot be defined as an assembly.
Directorate of Regional Services. This directorate is in charge of the Commission's decentralization program. In a bid to decentralize and take its services closer to the people, the Commission has established regional and field offices. The mandate of the Commission is implemented by the regional offices. The 10 regional offices are Central, Masaka, Mbarara, Hoima, Fort Portal, Arua, Gulu, Moroto, Soroti, and Jinja. The 10 field offices are Nakapiripirit, Kabiramaido, Kapchora, Buvuma, Kalangala, Moyo, Kitgum, Lira, Pader, and Kotido.
We thought by creating regional and field offices, we would have solved the problem of accessibility, but it is far from being fully resolved. For instance, we have a regional office in Mbarara, but that covers the traditional Ankole and Kigezi regions. It is still a challenge for somebody to come from Kisoro and get services at our regional office in Mbarara.
Major constraints of the Commission.
We would like to see the Commission closing this gap where people have got to travel long distances. Majority of the people we serve are the indigent within this country. So the more you go nearer to them, the better.
We want to see the Commission being able to get those people who have been awarded the compensation receive their money, because that is the biggest challenge and it undermines the credibility of the Commission.
Some of the successes of Uganda Human Rights Commission over the years.
At a regional level, the Uganda Human Rights Commission was nominated as the best national human rights institution in Africa. We call it the best NHRI. And that does not come because we are seated, but because we have been recognized at the continent or on the continent that we have made a difference in people's lives.
It has brought awareness of human rights to Ugandans because we have a department, research, education and documentation, which is charged with the civic education. It goes out to the public, and in every region office we have somebody from that department. They go to the public to educate them on their rights.
When you look at our statistics and our data, you realize that we have handled so many torture cases, and our aim is to kick torture out of Uganda. So, and you look at the trends of torture, you realize that there is a tremendous decrease in the cases and the violation against torture. We have made headway because we spearheaded the drafting of the anti-torture law, and we even pushed for it until it was passed. So now torture is a crime in Uganda.
Another milestone in the offing is that the Commission plans to have her own home. The Commission owns plot 20 to 24 Uganda Road. If the Commission should retain this property, that is where the new home will be. Already, a public-private partnership procurement process has been initiated.